Who's actually going to get the most out of a full-size golf simulator enclosure? Who can safely walk away? And does the price make sense for a family that just wants to hit a few balls on the weekend? Those are the three questions that keep me up whenever I see a product like the SIG10 golf simulator enclosure from the Indoor Golf Shop. I've spent a lot of time reading forums, watching unboxing videos, and chatting with people who have already set one up in their basements or garages, because the risk of buying a half-baked system that can't stand up to real swing speeds is real. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the core problem this enclosure is trying to solve. A lot of amateur golfers want the convenience of practicing at home, but most DIY setups end up with a cheap net that tears after a few drives or a screen that looks more like a stretched bedsheet than a true impact surface. The SIG10 claims to handle ball speeds up to 250 miles per hour, which is well beyond the average driver's swing, around 110 to 130 miles per hour, and even exceeds the top-tier tour speeds, around 180 miles per hour. In real terms, that means you could swing a driver that's dialed in for distance without worrying about the screen ripping or the net tearing. For a serious home golfer who spends a few hours a week on a swing, that durability translates directly into fewer repairs and less downtime. Now, who should actually consider spending the money on this package? If you're a weekend player who only hits a few balls with a cheap net and never bothers with launch monitors, the enclosure is probably overkill. The biggest value driver here is the combination of a purpose-built impact screen, protective foam padding, and a sturdy pole framework that all work together to create a safe hitting environment. Those who are looking to pair the enclosure with the SIG10 simulation flooring or a launch monitor like SkyTrack or OptiShot will get the most bang for their buck because the whole system is designed to work as a cohesive unit. Basically, if you're already planning to invest in a decent simulator software and you have the room to dedicate a permanent space, think a garage with at least 10 feet of ceiling height, the SIG10 makes sense. On the flip side, anyone living in a small apartment or who only has a spare room that's barely tall enough for a putter practice should skip this. The enclosure isn't portable. You need to bolt the poles into the floor or at least have a stable base, and the screen is a fixed component. If you need to move it around every few weeks, you'll quickly discover that the quick assembly claim is more about the initial setup than about ongoing flexibility. Also, the price point sits in the mid to high range for an enclosure alone. So if you're on a tight budget, you might be better off buying a high-quality net and a cheaper screen until you can afford a full-size setup. Let's dig into the practical strengths that set this enclosure apart from the usual market offerings. The first thing I noticed in the demo videos is the tight tension on the H-quality screen. Unlike the stretchy canvas you see in some low-cost kits, the SIG10 screen stays taut even after repeated ball impacts. That matters because a loose screen can cause the ball to bounce back unpredictably, which not only ruins the data you're trying to collect, but also poses a safety hazard. The built-in foam padding on the side barriers is another smart touch. When you're working on a full swing, the club can swing wide, and those side panels absorb the stray balls without denting the screen. In a home environment with kids or pets, that extra layer of protection can prevent accidental damage that would otherwise be costly to replace. Another strength is the way the enclosure integrates with the SIG10 simulation flooring. The flooring is made of a high-density material that mimics the feel of a real fairway while also providing a stable platform for your swing. When you combine the floor with the enclosure, you get a more realistic experience that helps with balance and weight transfer, something that a simple net and carpet can't replicate. The enclosure's frame, built from coated steel poles, feels solid enough that it doesn't wobble when you swing aggressively. In the field, that translates to a consistent launch position every time, which is crucial for reliable data if you're using software that tracks ball flight. Now for the weaknesses, because no product is perfect. The biggest practical drawback is the assembly time. Even though the manufacturer advertises a quick setup, most users report spending a full Saturday installing the poles, tightening the screen, and attaching the padding. If you're not comfortable using a drill or you don't have a helper, the process can feel a bit daunting. Another issue is the required ceiling height. The enclosure is designed for an 8-foot minimum, but to swing a driver comfortably, you really want at least 9 feet. If you have a low garage door or